What's up guys, hope you are having a great day because today I want to create the homepage of a responsive personal website. And before we continue on, make sure that you click on the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any content. Alright then, I want to focus on the homepage today. If you have any suggestions of pages that I could add, just let me know and I'll add it throughout this series. What I want to do is start off with the HTML and CSS part first. And at the end of the course, I want to make the website responsive. Now, on our desktop, let's create a new folder called personal_website. We don't need to add any file in here, but what we need to do is to open our code editor. In my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code. In here, let's drop our personal portfolio folder. Alright, make it bigger. Let's close off the home page. And you can see that our personal portfolio folder has been added. Let's create a new file in here. So in our personal website called index.html, I have an extension installed called emit. So I can basically write down doc, hit tab, and my HTML structure has been printed out right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Alright. Now if you have Visual Studio Code, let's go to help and write down word wrap. So let's toggle the word wrap. Alright. First off, let's change our title because I don't want the document written down right here. And I'll basically align everything, but you don't need to do that. It's just for you so you could read it easier. So in here, let's say personal website dash code with Dari. Let me align the meta as well. Alright, and chart set is good. The next thing we need is to add a new font. The default font of a Freshly website is Times New Roman. And well, let me give you one tip. Let's definitely not use that one. I've got a pretty cool website, so let's open the browser. Alright, let me make it bigger. Let's go to fonts.google.com. And right there, you can see a complete list of free fonts that we could use. The one I prefer is usually to use Lado when I work on tutorials. So you can choose whatever you want, but when you're done, let's have a click on it. And basically right here, when I work on a website, I prefer to always have a lightweight. So let's click on lightweight, select this style. I like to have a regular, and I like to have a bold version. Alright, there are two ways how we could pull this in. We could use the link right here, so the link tag, which is the way I prefer, and we have the import method. But for now, I want to focus on the link method. To use it, let's basically copy the link in here. Let's hop back to Visual Studio Code, paste it right below our title. Let me align it again. So what's next? Well, we need a style sheet to style our classes and elements. So let's create a new file called style.css, hit enter. Now we need to link it, so let's go back to our index.html and right below our link, let's create a new link, hit tab. The rel is equal to style sheet and the href is the path. So it's stored in the same directory, so in our root directory. So we basically need to write down style.css. Let me align it again. Alright. Let me scroll down because we're going to focus on the body right now. So at the very top of our website, we need to have a menu where users can scroll to. So usually you start off with the header tags, hit tab, hit enter, and inside my header tags we can place our menu items. But before we do that, let's create a nav, hit tab, let's give it a class called top-menu-container. And inside our nav, we could place our unordered list. Hit tab, you can see our unordered list has been created. In our unordered list, we could create list items by writing down li, which stands for list item, hit tab, and hit enter. What we want is that every single list item to be clickable. We need to create an anchor in here, so let's write down a and hit tab. Let's not set the href right now, we'll do that later. But what we need to add here is inside our anchor opening and closing tag, the name of, well, the extra pages that we have. So for the second one, let's say about. But what we could do now is to copy our entire list item go in the line below, paste it, and we can change the second one to portfolio. Let's do it one more time because we need our contact page as well. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to add our logo. So the idea is that we have our menu items to the right, so what we have right here, and our logo to the left. So let's go right above our nav, and we can basically write down div, hit tab, but we could also write down punctuation mark, which stands for a class called logo-header. Hit tab, and we have created a div with a class called logo-header. So inside our div, we want our logo to be clickable, so we get redirected to the home page. So we need an anchor, and inside our anchor, we need an image. So let's write down img, hit tab. Our image has a source. I don't want to focus that much on our logo. I won't create it in this video. So what we could do is to hop to Google Chrome, open a new tab, and go to a website called pixabay.com. So in here, let's write down logo. And just find whatever logo you like. I'll just, let me scroll down. And I'll basically choose, let me choose this one. Alright, it's transparent as well. There are two ways how we could import our image inside our project. We could click on free download, download it, and place it inside our root directory. But I want to show you another way first, then we download it and place it inside a folder. So let's right click on it. Let's open the image in the new tab. What we could do is to copy our path. So let's do that. Let's hop back to Visual Studio Code and let's paste it right inside of the source. Alright, let's fill in the alt of our logo. The alt attribute is basically a replacement whenever the image isn't loading. So in our case, let's just say logo personal portfolio. We also need to add a title attribute. So let's set the title equal to whatever you like. I'll just do the logo personal portfolio again. And the title is pretty necessary because whenever someone hovers over an image, a piece of text will pop up, which is our title. Alright, let's save it. I have a plugin installed called Live Server. And what Live Server allows me to do is to, first off, it lets us right click on a file name and open it with Live Server. So let's do that. Alright. And you can see that our image is right here. But for the purpose of this video, let me actually copy the link. Go back to Google Chrome. Let's paste it right here. And alright, you can see that our image and menu items has been imported. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code again. Because what I want to do right now is to start styling our website. What I always do when I start programming or making a website is basically is to style the HTML, body. So I want to apply styling to the body and HTML tag. So if we go back to the browser, right click and inspect the page, let's hover over the HTML element. That's the entire page, so that's good. But if we hover over the body, you can see an orange line right around the page. And that's the margin, because the body element has a margin by default of 8 pixels. Let's go back. Let's set the margin equal to 0. And let's also set the padding equal to 0. Let's save it. Let's go back to Google Chrome. Hover over the body and it's gone. But let's also set the width and the height equal to 100%. Save it. Google Chrome. Refresh it. Alright. Now, the next thing that I want to do is change the background color because it's too bright for me. So let's set the background -color equal to hashtag F2, F2, F2. Save it. Go back to Google Chrome. Refresh it. The next thing is the font family. I haven't closed off my Google fonts because if we go back to the site, you can see the CSS rules to specify families. So we have a font family. Let's copy it. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code and paste it right below our background color. Now if we save it and hop back to Google Chrome, to our website, you can see that our menu items have a much better font. Alright, what's next? We have our entire navigation that has a class of .top-menu-container. which is our navigation right here. So what do we need to do? Let's set the background color to something gray. So let's do that. So the background color is E8, E8, E8. I want the height to be 80 pixels. I also want to add a pretty cool styling to it, which is a box dash shadow of 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels, hashtag CC, CC, CC. So it's a gray color. Let's make our logo a little bit smaller. So Visual Studio Code. Let's say that we have our .logo-header. But remember, our logo header is the class name of, let's see, the div wrapped around our image. So what we need to style is our logo header and the image inside of it. So let's say space img, space curly braces, and let's set the width equal to 50 pixels. Save it. Let's look at the output. And well, this looks way better at the moment. Cool. Now we need to make sure that our image and menu items are aligned next to each other. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's style the entire div wrapped around our logo header. So logo-header, and set the display to block, but the position needs to be absolute. And I'll tell you in a second why. So let's save it. Let's see if there are any changes in our output. Alright, there is, because our logo is right on top of our menu items. The reason why I did it is because right now we could set the left to 80 pixels. So we want 80 pixels from the, well, let's see. We want 80 pixels from the far left point of our website. You can see that it's at the top. So let's set the top. Well, let me actually show you how we could calculate to get the logo right in the middle. Because usually it's the amount of pixels that is needed to touch the bottom of our menu. So let's do that. So let's do 50 pixels. Save it. Go back to Chrome. This is not good. So let's test 40. Save it. Google Chrome. A little bit more. So let's say 35. Save it. Google Chrome. Alright, this looks good. Now let's divide it by 2. So let's say that we have 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. Save it. Hop back to Google Chrome. And our image has been placed right in the middle. What eventually our goal is to place our menu items to the right and place them right in the middle just like the image. But before we do that, let's just inspect our element to see what's wrapped around of it. So our link has nothing. Our list item has nothing as well, but our unordered list has margin and padding, which we don't need actually. So let's get rid of that. Let's go to our code editor, and right below our logo header, let's create a top-menu-container. So let's see what that is. That's the entire navigation, but we want to style the unordered list in there. And what we need to do is to set the padding equal to 0 and the margin equal to 0. Save it, go back to Chrome. Alright, this looks good. But what's next? Well, we want to float it to the right. And since we've placed our image to 80 pixels to the left, we need to place our unordered list 80 pixels to the right. So let's do that. Save it, Google Chrome. Alright, this looks good. Now let's inline our list items and get rid of the bullet points and the underline, so the text decoration. So let's set the top-menu-container unordered list item to text decoration of none to get rid of the underline. Oh, my bad, this is the link. Let's go to Google Chrome. The underline is gone. Let's copy and paste it one more time because we need to change the list items as well, where we need to set the display equal to inline to align them next to each other. Save it, hop back to Google Chrome, refresh it. Alright, let's change the color and spacing around a bit. So let's set the links to a margin of 20 pixels. Let's give it a font size of 14 pixels. And what I would like to do is to change the text transform to uppercase. Let's save it, test the output. Alright, but let's change the color because it's the blue purple-ish color now. So let's set the color equal to something gray called 666. Save it, check the output, and alright, this looks good. Let's actually change the font size to 16. I think it's a little bit too small. Alright, this looks good. We need to place our elements right in the middle, but instead of doing it for every single item, we could do it in the unordered list as well. So let's do that. Let's set the position equal to relative, and let's set the top equal to 50 pixels to test out what's going on right now. Alright, we need to place it a little bit more down. Let's set it equal to 60. A little bit more. I think 65 should be fine. Alright, yeah, this looks good. Now, let's divide it by 2. So let's say 32.5. Save it, test it, and it's right in the middle. Now that we're done with our menu, we could hop on to the next section, where I want to create a hero background with some text on top of it. So let's go back to our index.html, and right below our menu, let's create a div called hero-container. And this hero container will be the full width background image. In here, I want to create another div where I'm placing the content of my hero container. The reason why I'm doing this is because the hero container will basically have the 100% width, and the content inside of it needs to be smaller. So let's say .hero-wrapper, hit tab, and let's add content right here. So let's say h1, hit tab, and I'll just add dummy data. You can change it later on. So let's say multi-disciplinary, add a break. So BR, designer, developer. Let's wrap our designer in a span with a class line because I want to add a line through it. And let's wrap developer inside another span. So let's say span. Well, let's place designer right inside of it. Let's give it a class called line. And let's do the same thing for developer. So let's copy it. Let's get rid of it. Write down span. Paste it right in here. And give our span a class called orange-txt. And well, this may look pretty weird, but I'll show you in a second what I'm going to do. Right inside my hero wrapper, I want to create a new div called btn-wrapper because I want to create 2 buttons right inside of it. So let's create an anchor with the name Let's Connect, where we redirect a user to our contact form. I want another one where I will redirect them to the portfolio page, which are basically the 2 most important pages on a portfolio. You either want to show someone your work or you want to get in touch with them. If we save it, hop back to Google Chrome. This looks pretty ugly, to be honest. So let's start styling it. Before we actually start to style it, let's go to Pixabay again. Let's search for something called, well, let's say startup. So we need a business picture. Well, these are vectors. So let me go back to the home page and let's search for startup. You can search for whatever image you like. I will just go for the laptop right here. I want to show you the second way how we could output images on Pixabay. So whenever you found your image, click on free download, choose the size that you need, click on download. I'm not a robot. Maybe I sound like one, but well, please tell me. Alright, our image is downloaded. So what we need to do, we need to open our personal portfolio folder. And in here, I don't want to place my images next to my index.html and style.css. A good practice to follow is always to create a new folder, call it img, open it, and well, let's place our image right inside of it. Let's rename it, and let's call it hero-banner. Now we're ready to style it. So let's hop to Visual Studio Code. Let's go to our style sheet, and let's scroll down. To set the background image properly, we need to do some stuff. First, we need to add our class, so hero-container. Then we need to set the background to equal to URL, which is a function, so we need to add parentheses. Inside our parentheses, we need to add a path. So let's say single quotes, our img directory, / the image hero banner.jpg. Now, in order to center the image properly, we need to add a no repeat after the parentheses, so no-repeat. So it won't repeat the image if it doesn't fit. Then we need to center it, so center space center. I want to have a parallax background, so let's set it equal to fixed. Alright, on the line below, let's set the background -size equal to cover. And let's set the height equal to 90%. Let's save it. And let's see what the output is. Let's go to personal website. Let's refresh it. Well, this looks good. We have an issue because you can see that there is white space between our menu and our background image. When you inspect it, let's try that out. Alright, let's open it up. Let's inspect it one more time. You basically can't see anything because I pretty much think that this is some kind of bug. So what you need to do is to basically set the margin of our H1 that we have right here to 0. So let's test that out. I usually have my header stylings at the top of my page, so right below my HTML and body. Let's set the H1 to a margin 0. Let's set the color to white because, well, it doesn't look good right now. Let's set the font size to something big. So let's say 72 pixels. Save it. Go to Chrome. You can see that our spacing right above our background image has been disappeared. Let's focus on the wrapper inside our hero. So whatever we have right here. Let's go to Visual Studio's code. Scroll down. And right below our hero container, let's set the hero-wrapper to a width of 80%. So our body has a width of 100%. So the entire page. But we want everything that's inside the wrapper to be 80%. So let's do that. If we save it right now and we go back to the browser, inspect it, and let's inspect our hero wrapper, you can see that we only have margin to the right hand side of our div. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and in order to fix it, we need to set the margin equal to 0 auto. So 0 top bottom, auto left and right. So whatever is on the right hand side will be divided to the left hand side and the right hand side. We want our content to, well, not be at the top. So let's set the position equal to relative. Let me add a space right here. All right. And let's set the top to 30%. Save it. Go to Chrome. All right, let's close off the inspect element. This looks good. I hope that you can see that I'm working in a logical order. So I style the image first, then the menu items, then I'll set the background image, followed by the content on top of the background image. So we've done our H1 now. Let's focus on the spans that we have right around our designer and developer. So we gave it a class of .line. And what I want is a line through the text. So to do that, we need to set the text-decoration equal to line-through. Now let's save it, test the output. All right, we have a line that's white, which I want to set equal to our secondary color. Well, which we don't have right now, but we're going to start to use it. So let's set the text decoration color, as you can see in the options, to FF6500. And that's a hashtag. All right, let's close it off. And you can see that my color is orange now. Save it. Go back to Chrome. Well, let's set the font style to italic as well. I think that looks better. Save it. Chrome. And it starts to look pretty nice. All right, now for our second span, which is wrapped around developer, we only want to change the color. So let's say that our .orange-text, so txt, has a color of, well, the orange one that we had for a text decoration. Let's use it right here. Let's save it. Hop back to Chrome. And well, in my opinion, this starts to look pretty nice. But we need to style our buttons as well, right here. They aren't even visible anymore. In the style sheet, let's test the .hero-wrapper buttons, so A. Let's set the text decoration to none again. Let's set the color to white. Let's give it a border of 2 pixels solid white. And let's add a padding. So let's say padding, 12 pixels top bottom, 20 pixels left right. Let's see the output, but let's change the font. So let's set the text transform to uppercase. And let's give it a font size of, let's say, 20 pixels. Let's see the output. This looks way better. But let's also set the font weight equal to bold. I think that looks better. Yes, way better right here. Right now, we need to separate them because they're aligned right next to each other. So let's set the margin to 0 top, 30 pixels right, and the rest is 0 as well. Save it. Let's create a little bit more spacing from the H1 to the buttons, and therefore we could use the class that we have wrapped around our button called btn-wrapper. Let's give it a padding of 60 pixels top and the rest is 0. Save it. Go back to Chrome. Alright, this looks good. And let's change the hover effect over our button. So we could basically copy our hero wrapper A, paste it right below our button. And after the enter, let's add a colon hover where we only need the color so we can get rid of the other stylings. But let's change the color to 666. And let's set the background dash color to white. Save it. Hop back to Chrome. Hover over it. Alright, this looks good. But there's one small thing. Let's add transition. So the transition is equal to 0.20 seconds ease-in-out for a smooth effect. Save it. Hop back to Chrome. And you can already see a pretty cool transition. Alright, now when a user scrolls down, we want to show them something that pops up and they won't forget it. I want to create a 4 block with an image, header, and a description of our skills. And all of that will be done with the grid layout system. So let's go back to our index.html. Right below our hero container, let's create a new section called container-grid-4. Hit tab, hit enter. And right here, we need another set of divs with no class. So let's write down div, hit tab and enter. You could basically see one div as one grid item. And in here, we want to have an image. Hit tab. Let's go to Google Chrome to find the image. Let's go to Pixabay. Let's write down placeholder. And well, let's basically choose whatever you like. Let's open the image in a new tab. Let's copy the URL. Hop back to Visual Studio Code. Same pattern. Paste it right here. And well, the alt is skill, image, and the title as well. Right below our image, we want an H2 with the type of skill that we have. So let's say web design. We need a piece of lorem ipsum text. So let's create a paragraph. Inside our paragraph, let's write down lorem, hit tab. And well, this is actually a little bit too much. So let's say only a couple words. So like I've just said, our div right here is a grid item. So what we could do is to basically copy it and paste it 3 more times and basically just change the text. So let's do that. So we have our second set. Instead of saying web designer, let's say web development. And let's keep the same image. The third one, well, let's paste it, is product design. Let's do it one more time. Because the last one is creative, let's say creative thinker. Let's save it, hop back to Google Chrome. Well, this doesn't look good right now, but it will be in a second. Let's go to our style sheet and let's style it. Right here, we want to, well, let me add a comment. Home section skills. My GitHub repository will have more. So since we want to use the grid layout system, we need to write down our class name. So container-grid-4. Then we need to set the display equal to grid. So our browser knows that we're working with a grid layout system. And for the grid-template-columns, we need to set it equal to 1FR, 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 1FR. So we have 4 boxes. So what this does is taking the entire width, so let's say 100%, and we'll divide it by 4, so we get 4 boxes. I don't want my width to be 100%, so let's set it equal to 80%, and let's set the margin equal to 0 auto. Let's save it. Let's test the output. Alright, it actually works, but our image is a little bit too big. So we'll do that in a second. Let's set the text align equal to center. And let's actually change the image. So let's say the container grid for IMG has a width of 250 pixels. Save it. Go back to Chrome. And alright, this looks good. The issue that we have right now is that our grid items are aligned next to each other. And to usually test that out, I'll just set the background dash color equal to any color, so red, refresh it, and you can see that the entire background has been changed to red, and that's not what we want because, well, there's no space. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, get rid of the background color, and let's set the grid dash column dash gap equal to 50 pixels. So let's save it. Let's go to Google Chrome. Alright, let's inspect the element. Let's scroll down. And well, yes, you can see that we have spacing in between our grid items. So let's close off the inspect element. Let's add a padding at the top of 100 pixels top bottom, 0 left right. Alright, this looks better. Now for our H2, so the web design, development, product design, and creative thinker, let's create a global styling so we could reuse it. So let's go right below our H1. Let's set the H2 equal to margin 0, padding 30 pixels top, 0 right, 10 bottom, 0 left. The text transform needs to be uppercase, and the font size is 18 pixels. Save it. Test the output, and this looks better. Let's focus on the paragraph right now. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, right below our H2. Let's set the paragraph equal to a margin of 0 and padding of 0. And let's change the color to 666. Save it, refresh it. Alright, this looks a lot better. Let's set the font size equal to 20 pixels. I don't like the default letter spacing and line height of a website. So I want to add a little bit more letter spacing. So let's go back to the style sheet. Let's set the letter dash spacing equal to 0.04 em. And let's set the line height equal to 1.4 em. Save it. And let me say that I never want to translate this page again because it's annoying me a little bit. Alright, that's it for our paragraph. And let's focus on the next section, where opinions matter, to be honest, because I think it's pretty crucial to have an About Us section right on the homepage. We need to look at the user's experience and not our own. So before we continue on to the next section, let me add a header section so a user can see where they're looking at. So right below our for grid template, let's create a class called header-section tab. And right here, let's create an H2 with more than one class. That is something new. What we've been doing so far was basically styling every single element every single time. Well, there's another pretty cool way. We could give a class multiple classes. In this case, let's set the class equal to dark, space, big. Let's save it. Well, let's actually add a piece of text of theme. And let's also add an HR, which is basically a line. So in our style sheet, we could go down and let's set that the dark has a color of gray, so 666. Save it, refresh it. Well, let's actually save our index too. All right, we have theme right here, but we could also style the class big, where we could set the font size equal to 38 pixels. Save it, hop back to Chrome, and well, it looks way better. This is how CSS frameworks like Bootstrap and Tailwind work. You basically add multiple classes to a single element. Now let's style the line that we have. So let's set the HR equal to margin 0 auto and a width of 30 pixels. But let's also text align everything in the center. So what was the class name? Header-section. So let's say header-section is text align in the center. Save it, go back to Chrome, and well, this looks pretty good right now. The section that we're going to create now is where the most content of the page is stored. Think about it as a page where you let visitors to get to know you better or even answer their questions. Right now, I want to create a 2-grid layout system. So in my index.php, let's create a class called container-grid-2. Hit tab. All right, same process. Let's create a div and another div. On the left-hand side, I want to add an image. So let's write down img, hit tab. Well, let's go to Pixabay again. Let's search for, well, let's say theme. That was a typo. So theme. Let's scroll down and let's choose, well, this picture. Let's open it in a new tab. Again, let's copy the URL, Visual Studio Code, add it in the source. All right, let's add the alt, image, theme, homepage, and the title as well. Image, theme, homepage. You can change it. Now for a second div, we want content. So let's say that we have an h2 of who we are. Then I have an h3 right below it with the same class that we used before. So let's say with h3.orange-txt, hit tab, and we created an h3 with a class called orange-txt. Right here, let's say meet our theme, and let's add a paragraph right below it. Let's write down lorem. We'll get a piece of lorem ipsum. Let's get rid of some text. And what we could do is to scroll up and reuse a piece of code that we have. So we could basically reuse the button wrapper class that we have with the buttons inside of it. Scroll down, paste it right below our paragraph. We only need one button. Let's remove the last one. Let's change the content of the button that we have to about. And let's save it because this is basically it for our HTML. Let's refresh it. This doesn't look good, so let's quickly style it. Let me add a comment which says homepage about us, where we have our container grid 2. Well, the display is grid again, and our grid-template-columns is 1FR, 1FR, so 2 boxes. We have a margin of 0 auto. It's the same process over and over again because the width is 80% as well. Save it, test the output, and it works, but the image is a little bit too big. But we gave our image a class, as you could see right here. Oh, we didn't, so let's do that. Let's give it a class of img-theme. Save it, go to the style sheet. Right here, let's say that our image, so img theme, has a width of 600 pixels. Save it, test the output, and it actually starts to look pretty good. Let's add padding first. So let's set the padding equal to 100 pixels, 0 pixels again. All right. The image styling is done. So let's style the H2. but I want to overwrite the styling that we had of the global styling. So let's set the container dash grid dash 2 h2 equal to padding 0, and the color is, well, light gray. So h3 h3 h3. Save it, refresh it. Alright, but we need our header element of our h3 to be bigger. So let's go create a global styling again, because we already added the color. Let's set the font dash size equal to 34 pixels, margin, so the default margin of a header, to 0, padding to 20 pixels top bottom, 0 left right. Save it, Google Chrome, and this looks good. But we have an issue. The issue that we have right now is that the second grid item has been aligned right next to the image. So what we could do is to go to our style sheet, scroll down again, and basically style the second div. We could give it a class name, but that's so much work. We could basically say the container dash grid dash 2 space div, so the divs inside of it, and we want to say that nth dash child, which is a function, so we need to add parentheses, and we want the second div inside of it. So whenever we write one, we're basically calling the div with the image inside of it, and the second one is with the content. Alright, what we could do is to set the margin equal to auto and the width to 80%. Let's save it, test the output. Alright, so our button is left right now. So let's say that the container dash grid dash 2a. Well, we could actually scroll up to the button that we had of our hero wrapper, copy everything, scroll down, paste it right inside of the button of our theme section. But the issue is that, well, if we save it and hop back to Google Chrome, the button is white, so we need to change it. Let's give it a background color of FF6500. Let's keep the color equal to white, the border FF6500 as well. Save it, test the output. Well, this looks good, but let's add a hover, and we could do the same thing. We could go up, copy the hero wrapper button, hover, paste it right below our link styling, and let's change the class name. Let's change the color to 666 and the background color to transparent. Save it, go to Chrome, refresh it, and well, this looks good. Alright, for the next section, let's go to our index.html and let's copy our header section. Let's paste it at the bottom right above our body closing tag. And let's change theme to skills. For this section, I want to use the basic 1FR grid templating, but I want to play with it a little bit. I want the middle grid to overlap all grid items, and I want two boxes to the left and to the right. Right above our header section class, let's create a new class called section-y-us. Hit tab. In here, let's create another div. And instead of going to Google, I will link a video where I install Font Awesome if you haven't done that before. But I will basically go to my head in my index.html and let's add it right here. So let's say link, the rel is style sheet, but the href is //use.fontawesome.com/releases /v5.0.7 /css /all.css all. And this should work. Now, if we hop to Google Chrome, write down fontawesome.com, and here we could use an entire library of icons. And like I said, if you are a little bit more interested about Font Awesome, I've got a video where I'll go a little bit more in depth about it. But for now, let's just write down branch. And let's click on free. Alright, let's click on code branch. Let's copy the I class by clicking on it. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And let's go right inside of our class and paste it right inside of the div. Let's save it. Let's go back to Chrome. Well, let me actually close off all the unnecessary tabs. All right, now let's refresh it. And you can see my icon in the bottom left corner. Now, what we need to do then is to add an H2 right below our icon, which says a skill that we have. So let's say quality control with a paragraph of lorem ipsum again. Let's get rid of the lorem ipsum, and we just need a couple words. For the second div, let's create it. We basically need a class called middle, and inside our class we only need an image. And what I want to do right now is basically go inside my image folder and click on the hero banner because the video is getting a little bit too long. Then we need the same box to the right, so let's copy it. Let's change the H2 to search engine friendly. Let's go to Google Chrome. Let's change the icon as well. Let's search for Google. Let's let's just copy the first one. All right. Let's replace the I class, save it, test the output, and it works as well. We need two more, so let's copy the entire div. Let's paste it right here, and let's do it another time as well. So for the third one, let's change the text to optimal maintenance. Let's change the icon to, well, keyboard or whatever, free. Let's copy the I class, same process again. Let's replace it. And for the last one, let's change the text to webmaster tools. Let's go to Google, search for an icon called globe. Let's click on free again, and let's copy the first one. All right, let's go and replace the icon, and this should work fine. Let's go to the style sheet to style it, and then we're almost done. So the section, why us? So why to choose us? We have the entire class, section-y-us. Display is grid. Grid template columns is 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. We need a grid row gap, so not the column, 50 pixels. Margin is 0 auto. The width is 80%, and the text online is right in the center. Save it. All right, we have an issue because our image is too big. So we have our class.middle img. Let's give it a width of 250 pixels. But let's actually stick with the middle class that we have. I want to set the grid-column to 2/3. So I want it to span the columns to 2 of the 3. And I want the grid row to be 1/3. Let's set the margin equal to auto as well. Save it, go to Chrome, and this looks good because what you could see right now is that we have a 3 grid layout system, right? So 1 is the quality control, 2 is the image, and 3 search engine friendly. But what we've basically said is that the image needs to span the entire middle grid, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Alright, let's continue on with styling it. Let's add a padding to the bottom. So padding-bottom, 100 pixels. Save it, refresh it. Alright. I want to style the icons. So let's do that by saying section-y-us.I as a color of FF6500. Save it and see if it works. Well, nope. Oh, obviously it's not a class, but it's an element. So we basically need to write down I. Let's refresh it. All right, that works. Now, next to the color, I want to add a font size of 30 pixels and a padding of 30 pixels. Save it and go to Chrome. This starts to look pretty cool. And I want to add a circle around it. Well, not a circle, because I want to change the border radius. Let's set the border dash radius to 5 pixels left, 20 pixels top right and bottom left, and 5 pixels to the right. Obviously, if we save it right now, you won't see anything because we need to add a box dash shadow, 0 pixels, 5 pixels, 10 pixels, color FF6500. Save it, refresh it. In my opinion, this looks very slick, to be honest. But the paragraphs are a little bit too big. So let's set the section dash y dash us, the paragraphs, to font size 14 pixels. Save it, refresh it, and well, this looks slick. The last thing that I want to do is to add a simple footer. So let's go to our index. At the bottom, let's create a footer. We don't need to give it a class because our footer will have a width of 100% again, but we want a class inside of it called .container-footer. Hit tab. All right. Right here, we need to place our logo, but we don't need to write it out. We could just scroll up, basically to our logo at the top. Let's copy it, scroll down. Let's paste it right inside of it. And right below of our logo, let's create a paragraph with the text, "This website is created by Code with Dari." Save it. Well, it will look pretty ugly right now. Oh, I actually copied the wrong picture. Let me go up to our navigation. Yeah, logo personal website. That's why you always add an alt and title, man. You have to. Let's replace our image. Save it. Google Chrome. Well, it's a little bit too big, so let's style it. Comment, styling, footer. We have our entire footer, which I need to give another background color. So let's set that to DC, DC, DC. And I want a box shadow, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels, DC, DC, DC. Now the content inside of our footer, so the container-footer, needs to have a width of 80% and a margin of 0 auto. Same process. But right now, I want to set the text align to the center. Save it. Go to Chrome. Refresh it. Well, background color works. Image is way too big. So let's set the .container-footer img and give it a width of 50 pixels. And basically, let's add padding as well. So 30 pixels top, 0 right, 10 bottom, 0 left. All right, this looks slick, honestly. And let's add a padding to the entire footer. So I want a little bit more spacing above my logo and below my paragraph. So let's say padding, 60 pixels. 0 pixels. Save it. All right. And the last thing that I want to change is my paragraph text. So let's say container-footer paragraph has a font size of 14 pixels. Save it. Refresh it. Like I've said in the beginning of the video, I'm creating a mini series of videos. If you want to see me create another page, just let me know and I will add it. But for the next video, I want to create on the About. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this video. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, and I would like to thank you for watching it.